Good evening, everybody. This is your host, Huge Pop from the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. I am blessed tonight to be spending a little time with someone that spent some time in WCW and WWF. His wrestling style is Powerhouse Wrestling. He is a two-time SICW Tag Team Champion with Big Texan. Welcome to the show, the Night Train, Gary Jackson. How you doing, my friend?
Doing great, and all aboard the Night Train.
All aboard. Whoop, whoop. Mm-hmm. So I'm finally a pleasure to have you on the show. I know we've worked out trying to get you here and there, and my schedule, your schedule, but I am blessed to have you on the show. I am so thankful to have another SICW wrestling talent with us tonight. You make the third one, and you guys have an awesome promotion that you guys do, and it's so cool. If anybody doesn't know, their stuff can be found on YouTube, I believe, and it's an old school feel, like back in the WWF era, where the announcers come to the front of the ring and interview, and then they have the match. And it's such a great time to watch it on YouTube. So check them out, everybody. So Gary Jackson is our guest. So Mr. Jackson, how did you first get involved as I'm backing up. What started your wrestling love as a child growing up?
Well, I'm from St. Louis, and we grew up with wrestling at the Chase. So, of course, like everybody else, me and my brother would wrestle in the house, in the backyard, that type of thing.
Yeah. And
that is how I really got involved with wrestling.
So, did you have any heroes growing up? Any guys that you watched that said, "Yeah, I want to be like that guy"?
Yes. The Rocky Johnsons, the Ric Flair, the Harley Races, the Von Erich, Rufus R. Jones, the Funk Brothers, Ted DiBiase, just, all the grapplers who we saw every week at Wrestling at the Chase.
Nice. So about what age did you say, man, Dad, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I really know I'm going to be a pro wrestler? What age?
Actually, when I was playing football and I went to high school, I tried out for the wrestling team, and I thought they did pro wrestling. But the coach said, no, we don't do no pro wrestling here. We do mat wrestling, amateur style. So I started amateur style. And then from there, from high school, I went to the United States Army. I enlisted in the Army.
Okay.
And I ended up wrestling in the 175 weight pound class. And towards the end of my Army career, I decided to get out the United States Army and try my luck at being a professional wrestler.
All right. Welcome to the show, Johnny Cass. Up above you is the Night Train, Gary Jackson, from the SICW promotion up in St. Louis. Johnny Cass is a wrestler, and he helps me on podcasts on Sunday nights. He wrestles in Illinois, right? Or is it Iowa?
I wrestle pretty much all over the Midwest, but I'm currently right now in the Chicago area.
So this is not the Johnny Cass, the great country singer, is it? The man in
black. He wishes.
Yeah. I only wish. I wish I made his money.
Yeah.
So now when you got into professional wrestling, where did you train and who trained you?
Well, I tried to hang out at the Kiel Auditorium. That is where they had the big shows at. Okay. In order to watch the TV tapings at that time, you had to be at least 16 to get in at the show, and that's what I did.
Okay.
My mother worked with a ring announcer who was Mickey Garagiola. They worked at a restaurant called Ruggieri's, a very fine Italian restaurant. So when I turned 16, she was able to get me the tickets to go watch the TV tapings. But I actually started hanging out at the Kiel Auditorium, which is equivalent to places like the Spectrum, which is equivalent to like Madison Square Garden, where they ran all the big shows at.
All right.
And our place is called the Kill Auditorium. So I used to try to hang out there, but the wrestlers, they kind of avoid you. They don't talk to you about it.
Okay.
And I never knew we had a small group in St. Louis at all. So I remember trying to get in that way. Then a police officer from the St. Louis Police Department recommend that I go to a place called the South Broadway Athletic Club in the area that we call Soulard. So I went down there and they put on shows once a month, a little small independent place. And that's why I got my training there.
Okay. John, you got any questions so far?
Back when you knew that you wanted to try your luck in the pro wrestling world, sorry, my camera's a little shaky. Did anybody give you any kind of gruff on that when they found out that that's what you wanted to do?
Well, not really, because a lot of people knew about pro wrestling, but it wasn't on stage like it is now with one big organization with all the fireworks, this and that. A lot of people saw, well, that sounds pretty good. You're working out, you look good. But the hardest part was really getting into the business. I started my journey in '83. I didn't start training until August of '84 at that time. Because wherever you would go, people would shut the door. They wouldn't talk to you at all. Then finally, when the door opened up, they still was kind of rough on me to see if I wanted to do it. Before as anybody saying you shouldn't do that or don't do that, it was still regional. It was still territories.
Okay.
So we only saw what we saw on the weekends here and went down to the Kill Auditorium. It wasn't like it is today. So a lot of people really didn't have no opinion to the left or to the right. They said, just good luck.
Wow. Now, you brought that up. So back in the day when there was territories and stuff like that, and people, there was no internet and there was no dirt sheets per se. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that all this internet and dirt sheet has ruined what wrestling should be or what it was back in the early part of your career?
No, I don't really think that is bad or anything, because you can't stop change. What you can do is be different from everybody else who puts on the show.
Okay.
And I think if you do that, I think if you guys know each other, talent on the card, look at your place on the card, look at the guys who's going before you, know what they can do. And if you can figure that out, you can always have a great match and a great show.
Okay.
If you try to copycat everybody else, then people they saw it, Yeah. And that's what we do at ICW. We just try to do something different from everybody.
Right. And I hope that's what you get at a feel for this podcast, because I try, Johnny Cash, my team, we try to make it different. I don't do reaction shows because everybody does reaction shows. Nobody else needs to know. There doesn't need to be 50 other guys saying what their thoughts were about Raw and all that stuff. So we try to bring a different heat to the show. So I hope you enjoy it. Jim, the big Texan Hoffarth is on the show. He says hello all. So
how's it going?
Big Texan says hi, Mr. Jackson. So.
All righty. That's the big Texan from Gun Barrel, Texas, baby.
There you go. So can you describe your wrestling persona and how you developed that?
Okay. Like I said, I grew up watching the guys of the Jack Briscoes, the Ric Flairs, more of a technical style. That is what I like doing, stuff like that. I keep it simple. I was really never a high flyer at all. I just like staying on the mat, working on the mat.
Okay. What was the most memorable moment of your wrestling career so far?
Well, two things. One was when I had an opportunity to work against Ric Flair when he was WWF.
Okay.
And second of all, when Cowboy Bob Orton asked us to train his son, Randy Orton.
So you trained Randy then?
Yes.
Wow, that's impressive.
That's amazing. Man. That's awesome.
That's impressive.
So we taught him the basics, and then he went to OVW, and I guess the rest is history.
There you go. Who were your inspirations and role models growing up?
Oh man, guys who I just mentioned. Plus when
Okay.
when I met Cowboy Bob Orton on the road, Hacksaw Butch Reed, Junkyard Dog. I mean, the list just goes on and on, man. You know, Kerry Von Erich did some shows with him. You know, Jeff working in Memphis territory with those guys. It's just, it was just meeting these great workers, Jerry Lawler, all these guys, and looking at what they do when they go out there.
So I will ask this. I'm sorry, Johnny, if you have a question, but I love this story. I've heard the story. I want to hear it again from you. Where did the Night Train, Gary Jackson, get his name? The Night Train.
Okay. It came from Bruiser Brody, and I'm just gonna make it simple. I was at home, got a phone call from Larry Madison, who was working in the office with Sam Mustard at that time. By now, Larry is doing his own thing. And I did a couple of independent shows with Brody at SICW. I get a phone call one night from Larry, and he said, "We got an idea from you." He said, "Me and Bruiser Brody have an idea. We want to call you Night Train Jackson because you remind him of Dick Night Train Lane, who played football for the Detroit Lions."
Okay.
And I said, "Man, I don't mind if Brody got the time to think about little Gary Jackson. Let's go with it."
Yeah.
That's how I got the name.
So
And his wife recently just found out this year when we was at the CAC Club in Las Vegas. I thought she knew the story. Once we told her the story, I mean, she was ecstatic.
Wow. So Bruiser Brody thought of your name and had enough. He wanted you to have that name bad enough where they called you at home.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
This was before cell phones.
Before cell phones. Holy cow. And so his wife, I'll bring Johnny Cass up to speed. So SICW every year, I think I was told, has a Bruiser Brody Battle Royal event.
Yes.
And his wife presents the trophy or the whatever it is, the plaque to the winner of that Battle Royal, right?
Wow.
Yes.
So is that done at the Chase or just in St. Louis somewhere?
We actually do it over in Illinois.
Okay.
We were in East Carondelet, which is a little small village, but now we moved up to the Belleville Fairgrounds, and there's a much bigger place, a much easier place to find. And, we average between 350, 400 people sometimes, depending on what's going on. Now you got to take into consideration, we may gain a little bit more because it's starting to get cold. And I'm quite sure every federation around the world hit and miss doing seasonal stuff.
Yeah.
Once the summer hit us, we got to deal with the Cardinals. We just picked up a Major League Soccer team, plus family members who like to go out and camp, this and that. So hopefully the next couple of months, when the weather gets a little cold, we'll get them back in.
Awesome. So is this bad? I mean, I'm asking this question. I don't know if this is going on in Johnny Cass's head. Johnny Cass is he wrestles in Illinois. He does a lot of battle royals himself. Now, is this a open battle royal or does Herb Simmons pick the people to be in that battle royal?
Well, it's a little bit of both. We get people who want to get into it, but you can only have so many. And we try to make it interesting as much as possible because a lot of guys like me with other federations, they got their own bookings. So a lot of times we run into problems with guys who's got the same bookings as we do.
Okay. There you go.
Just a little bit of both. It doesn't hurt to ask and come in this and that. We got a real good stable of guys. And the reason I say that, we also have the Cowboy Bob Orton Wrestling Academy.
Yeah.
So we're building our own base of guys just so we'll have a safety net because a lot of guys, again, got their own bookings where they're traveling a lot, and doing this and that, where they're going back and forth in the Midwest.
So Herb Simmons, I believe, is who you'd want to reach out to if that's an idea that's going through your brain, Mayor Johnny Cass.
And let me tell you something. We're always looking for new faces because we want to keep it fresh. We don't want to keep it stale. I always tell Herb Simmons, I don't mind sitting back a month or two. If you want to bring somebody in for a new face, I don't mind taking time off. I want to share our wealth with other people. I want to share our wealth with new guys coming in. I'm not a selfish guy. I step to the side and let somebody else have my spot.
There you go.
That's awesome, man. Like, yeah, as soon as I heard that was done there, here in Illinois, like that definitely piqued my interest. But here's the difference between me and some of the guys is that I would I'm not saying like, everybody's like this in no way, shape, or form, but there are some that I've crossed paths with that are kind of like this. But I honestly want to work hard to get that, to earn that spot. I don't want to deserve it. I want to earn it. So if I were to do something like that and you guys offered that to me, if I feel like I earned that spot, that I feel like I'm good enough, then I would take that. If not, then I would probably wait another year or two until I feel like I am totally 100% ready.
There you go.
Yep.
I'm
go ahead.
No, go ahead, man.
I'm glad you said it that way, because I always tell people it was a lot of guys coming up through the ranks with me. They was just as good, if not better, but I was always ready to go. So with that attitude, Johnny, I think, man, it's unlimited what you can do.
I appreciate that, and honestly, how I got this attitude, especially making my way into the business and breaking my way into the business. I attended I'm sure you're familiar with Bully Ray.
Mm-hmm.
I attended a seminar of his, and I listened to him every day on Busted Open. He is one of the most legit people in the wrestling business that will tell you like it is with no sugarcoating. We need, in my opinion, more guys like that, because if you go to a seminar to somebody that's been in the business, that's been on TV, that's been in the WWF or the WWE, and just tells you, yeah, you're doing good. That move you did looks pretty good. But if it doesn't really look good or appealing to that person, and they're not open and honest about it, then you're going to end up hurting somebody or hurting yourself. You have to want to drive to do better. And that's why I always prefer constructive criticism, how Bully puts it, over just saying, yeah, that looked good.
Well, you'll definitely get that SICW. We do it all the time. Even I can still take constructive criticism. So as long as I'm in this business, I'm learning every single day.
Right. You never stop learning in this business.
So that's another question that, since you brought that up, how important is it? I don't know if it happens in SICW because you guys are more the old school. You guys have a lot of veterans, but a lot of these younger independent companies that have younger talent seem to sometimes ignore the criticism from the vets in the back. Mm-hmm. So how important is it for wrestlers to shut up and listen to what they're talking about?
Well, you can tell them, but it's going to come to a point where they're going to realize that nobody's really picking on them. They're trying to help you down the road. So they really got to hang themselves out to dry and then come back and say, we was doing this wrong. We should have listened.
All right. That's fair. Mm-hmm. So can you share some insights into your training regimen and preparation for matches?
Well, I have always lifted weights, all the time, from the time I got in the military to the time I got out. I was going to the gym, I was hitting the ring, 3 nights a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, and just working on basic stuff, this and that, just trying to get my craft ready. Again, it was a lot of guys better than me around here. They was just never ready. Now, at that time, I wasn't married. Okay. I have no kids. So I really had, I didn't have no extra responsibility like some of the other guys did. And then some guys fell in love with their girlfriends. Well, I fell in love with the business. So, I was always ready, always trained,
Yeah. What do you consider your signature move or finishing move?
Well, I used to call it the window opportunity.
Of opportunity.
And I say like a window opportunity, I would say, I can catch you with a backslide, I can catch you with an inside cradle, I can catch you with a cross body block, stuff like that, just out the air. But now I do the Texas cloverleaf, and that's what I call my finish.
Okay. Have you ever faced any particular challenging or tough opponents?
Of course I have.
Which one stands out to you the most?
Really, probably the roughest one would probably have to be Dino Bravo at that time.
Okay.
But I've been in the ring with Razor Ramon. I've been in the ring with Abdullah the Butcher, Bruiser Brody, the Cowboy Bob Orton, Razor Ramon, Haku. The list goes on and on. Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Bam Bam Bigelow.
Meng?
And I think by me lifting weights, for us having that physical toughness, it was there. It's pro wrestling. I play football, so I don't know what else to tell you.
There you go. One of my names that you dropped some names. So a name that I was crazy about is I used to watch Ming, and I had seen that you faced him once or twice in your career. So I was like, whoa. So when I get there, I'd love to hear some stories. So, what do you enjoy most about the wrestling industry?
Good question. I really enjoy being in it. I love the camaraderie with a lot of guys I have met. But at the same time, though, people think I have a lot of road stories, but I don't, because I always rode by myself. Because I was always ready. A lot of guys, they was working, they had kids, they just couldn't take off like me.
Yeah.
But those two things, I love being in it. Nobody ever promised me nothing in this business. I've always said, hey man, I want to work for it. And then I'm still having fun.
Yeah.
So
the Big Texan posted this that I was going to get to it later, but I'll ask what the Big Texan said. He says, ask him about his stint with WWF fighting Razor and Shawn Michaels, and also his stint in WCW. Is there any memory or any some stories you could share specifically about those two guys that you would have had interactions with?
Well, when I worked against Shawn, I thought I was matched pretty fair at that time, because they had a lot of giants. Once Vince was making his move, with Hulk Hogan and we was going with the big guys. Usually I was working against the real big guys, man. The Razor Ramones, the Nails, all those guys. When I had a chance to work with Shawn, I thought, I'm like, this is pretty good. Well, I'm gonna get some stuff in tonight. I'm gonna get something in tonight. But working with Razor Ramon was not the first time I worked with him. Okay. I worked with him when we was in the Kansas City territory, when him and Danny Spivey were tag team partners.
Okay.
Back in those days. Same thing with Nails, who was in the Kansas City territory. All right. I knew a lot of these guys before they had the names changed, before they went to WWE and all those other places.
Awesome. So did you ever take the Razor's Edge?
Yes.
How's that?
It was great. It's all about, hey, just like Johnny Cash was saying, some of those moves that you do, you got to be on point, because if you don't, it's over with.
So you got you got a super kick, I assume too, right?
Oh yeah, man. It's I trained for it. No big deal. You know what you're getting into. If you can't take
just
it,
learn to take it.
Learn it. Thank you.
Coming from my podcast and sitting back in the back here looking at the screen, I'm going to say, no, I'm not going to learn to take it, because that does not, doesn't seem to me to feel good.
I was looking at our website, and Jeff Hardy, the Hardy Boys, they started when they were 16.
Yeah.
And I think one of the Hardy Boys was working against Razor Ramon, and Razor was putting them on him. And he was thinking, is this what I really want to do? But it's a tough business, and that's what a lot of fans they don't understand. They think we all friends, and I tell them, yeah, I am friends with some of the guys, but at the same time, though, you paying your money to see some action. You don't give a damn if we're friends. You need to get in that ring and take care of business. Then you go back being friends.
There you go.
And that's how I tell them. I'm like, yeah, I know some of the guys, but when we get in that ring, it's all about business. When you get on that football field, it's all about business. When you get on that basketball court, it's all about business.
Right.
With boxers, the same way.
All right.
Yeah.
So Big Jim is coming in with another question. Ask him about being a vampire. He might not look like it, but he's like 125, but still looks like he did in the 80s. So tell us about it being a vampire.
That's a name. That's a name that they gave me. Man, I just been blessed and not having those serious injuries to take care of myself, and I give it all to training. I give it all just getting up, working out, training. That's why I'm able to stay like I am.
Okay. Yep. I know Johnny down here is saying, yep, because I know he posts videos of him in the gym every day. So we know that Johnny Cass is in the gym. So
that's the thing too. I want to say real quick here. People need to start realizing too that if you want to, you should always chase your dream. I'm a firm believer in that every single human being on planet Earth has the capability of being something great. They have something special, but whether or not they want to bring that out within themselves, that's totally up to them. I believe that everybody that wants to get in this business that is as passionate as they claim they are, they should really show it through working out, through their in-ring skill, and through being the best version of themselves that they can be. There's a couple of guys that I've worked with that I've been told by the promoters that they are good and that they are ring ready. And I've actually gotten, I expect it. You when you sign up to be a professional wrestler, you expect to get stiffed. You expect to get injured. But I got stiffed a couple of times and almost got injured as well by my opponents not being that safe because of the experience that they didn't have.
Yeah. So Big Jim is saying that they only see you during the night, not during the day. So that must be a good thing for you too, huh?
Oh.
Well, like I said, you can't stop change. So I guess I'm a new vampire. They got all these vampire TV. They got all these vampire shows on TV that they out during the daytime.
There you go. There you go.
My wife, she likes looking at them. I can't think of those TV shows. I watch Daylight for whatever. They be out during the day. They got the guys changing into big ass dogs, wolves, or whatever they are. So I'm a new age vampire.
They're a new age vampire. Always have a
So I got a question for him when you got it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when you back in the day when you signed on with like the WWF or WCW, do they consider you to be a jobber at first to see where your skill set is at? I assume, because I've seen some of the older videos of like Yokozuna.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, what they do is they know a little bit about you. And then, you're tested. They put you in a situation, see what your attitude is at. You only got one time with those guys, man, to screw up, else you won't be called back. They'll tell you, like you said about Bubba Ray or about them being a straight shooter. Those guys will tell you, don't come back. We don't want you. So I have multiple opportunities to do it. And when you first get there, they test your attitude, see where you're at. And my attitude was always great. I knew what I was here for. I know what you want me to do. Can I please get a contract? So again, whenever they always call me, I never said I can't make it. I got to go to work. I got to do this. I was like, when do you need me? When should I get there?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's awesome. Like I'm all
And
for
then
opportunity too.
if they needed me, right, right. If they needed me in the area, man, they will overnight me an airplane ticket. They did that several times.
All right. Awesome. What advice would you give an aspiring wrestler looking to break into the business?
I would say, first of all, train hard. You know, don't have no excuses. Be ready to go. Listen to your trainer. Look at good YouTube videos. You know, and give yourself every opportunity to make it.
Okay.
You know, it's going to be hard for a couple of years, maybe a little bit longer. You know, just work hard, train hard, keep your mind open, and be positive.
Okay.
Be positive, you know, and give yourself every opportunity to make it.
Awesome.
And when I say that is, make sure you got a good running car if you can't ride with your buddy. Make sure you got your credit cards. Make sure you got your cell phones up to date. All those little things that can make or break you. You know, how many times you know a guy when you call him today, he answers next day, he has a whole new cell phone.
Yeah.
He has a whole new number. You know, he's booked for the show. You don't see him when my car broke down. You know, things like that, the little bit of things that'll make or break you. Try to take care of those.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. Can you talk? So we're gonna jump into some little bit of fan questions. Did you ever have any memorable encounters or interactions with fans during your time in wrestling?
For as a negative or positive?
Either way.
Well, I was doing a small show, and the guy came up to the ring. I mean, he was drunk. Came up to the ring, and I was backing up on the ropes doing my thing, and he just slapped me on my boot, and all hell broke loose. So, and at that time, we was at a particular place, and the Missouri State Trooper office was at the Armory.
Okay.
And then, when he got the story, he's like, this wrestler, this black guy saw that this guy, but the fans told him, it's like, no, the guy was drunk and he came up to the ring and started it. So I learned from that point on that if the guy is not trying to get in the ring, give him some space and let security do their job. And at that time, we didn't have security,
Okay. Yeah.
But for as a positive thing, mingling with the fans, it's a great thing. It's a great thing. And believe it or not, we might not be the big name guys that you see on TV every week, but those fans, you are like them, like the guys you see on TV, and they love you. And that's how we should treat them.
Yeah,
absolutely. Treat them with the most respect because they can spend their money anywhere. But they come to see us, let's entertain them. Let's treat them right. Let's have a good time with them.
And I know that's one thing that Herb Simmons kept on saying, that how much love he has for the fans is they put their heart. They could spend their money anywhere else, but they chose to come to SICW and see the show. And you guys, I can tell you, they put on a great show. So I'm impressed with them. So, do you have any superstitions or rituals you do before stepping into that ring?
One thing I do. I try to eat like 2:30, 3 o'clock. That way, my stomach would be at rest. I know some guys can eat right before their matches, this and that, but that's probably one of the things I do. I watch what I eat and what time I eat.
Okay. So I heard that you had a long line last night of fans waiting to get an autograph.
That's a great thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that means that we did something right to get them there. If to me that was a great thing, and I didn't mind. It only takes a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
It only takes a couple of minutes, and
awesome.
But it was great.
Awesome. So, can you share some behind-the-scenes story or moments that your wrestling career that fans that you might find interesting? Well, we talked about that one guy slapping your boot, but how about at the merch table? Was there any like awesome encounters, or a fan that was just so all over you that it made just you went home going, man, that was so cool.
I really don't know where to start with that question because it happens all the time. Everything from me holding babies to a young lady when I was selling stuff. She said, "I would like to take a picture of your butt." you know, you know, and, stuff like that. So I really don't know where to start with that, man. Everywhere I go, I'm shaking hands, kissing babies. When I say kissing babies, I'm kissing babies, shaking hands, hugging men and women. And it's just a great feeling.
Okay. Johnny?
Yeah, I've got a couple of stories too myself, but I'll be really quick with this one. So there was at PWX, there was this is the first time anything like this has happened to me. There was a 6-year-old girl that came up to my table, and her guardian came with her, and she told me the story about how from the time she was 1 year old all the way up till she was 5, she was abused in every way. And it resonated with me because when I grew up, I was in a very abusive household myself. So I got to talk to her for a little bit and told her, "Hey, will you be my friend? And I will also give you one of my shirts and a free 8x10 of mine as well to signify our friendship." And she was ecstatic. And every time I went there and I seen her at the shows, when she was there, it was a great experience, like to the point where it almost would make me tear up a little bit because, I couldn't imagine the trauma that kid went through. Only from, I don't know the whole story, but I'm assuming that it's similar to my background too. But that's why I do what I do. I also do it for myself, but when it comes to making fans like that and having that type of connection, there's nothing like it. Absolutely nothing like it.
Yeah. Since you brought that subject up, we was doing a show, another SICW show, and this young man, his mouth was just filthy. I think at that time he was probably about 11, probably about 13 or 14. Man, he just had a filthy mouth. I rolled out that ring and I chewed that young man out by using. He had a filthy mouth. And Herb Simmons will tell you that story. He always remind people of that. I just couldn't take it no more. This young man was using words that I refuse to use. And I just had enough. I got out that ring and I told him to sit down, shut your mouth, stop using that foul language. You just a young man. You just a kid. And when I did that, man, he sat down there in that chair and didn't say nothing else. And
well, shoot. Look at the size of you, bro. I'd probably sit down too, and I'd be going, "No, I'm done."
I heard that, and I rolled out that ring, and I just chewed him out.
So we're going to get into SICW, but I have a question. So I'm going to paint a picture. Riverfront Time interviewed you.
Mm-hmm.
For the pictures, they painted gold, and he was only wearing a leaf to cover something. Of course, it was a big leaf. Can you share that story with us?
Yes. Well, I was at that time, I was wrestling as Gorgeous Gary. So the reporter, we hung out for a little while, a few weeks, did this story. He said that my photographer, she's coming down to take pictures. I said, okay. So at that time, this is before the Gladiator movie came out. So I had on the Gladiator outfit. So once they wanted to do the pictures and put them in the magazine, she wanted me to wear that outfit. And then what we did was we took little tubes of gold paint. And it took about 2 hours to put this paint just in the front of my body. Now, we was in this particular place, in the basement of this place that we call Blueberry Hill, which is a very famous a restaurant. They have entertainment in the basement area. At that time, Chuck Berry used to come play there like once a month because him and the owner, they were super tight.
Okay.
So we was in the basement of Blueberry Hill Bar and Grill / concert, all this and that. And it was cold in there. And then she asked me to put that leaf on. I'm like, it's kind of cold. It's kind of hard to keep this leaf on. It's getting cold in there, you know. So the whole thing was just in to show everybody that I was a guy, you know, this big guy, you know, dressed in gold and everything, and that's how we did it.
All right.
You know,
those are pictures I won't want to see.
Yep.
I'll just put it there.
It was no shame on it. You know, my niece was somewhere and she saw somebody, they was looking at it, these ladies, they was looking at it and they was admiring it. She said, you know, that's my uncle. And of course they didn't believe her.
Right.
But it took 2 hours to put the paint on, it took about 30 minutes to take the pictures. You know.
Nice. So SICW, can you tell the fans? I know a little bit about it. Can you tell the fans about how SICW sets apart from other promotions and what's your thoughts of SICW?
Well, Herb Simmons is a promoter, but we have a matchmaker. Well, Herb Simmons is the promoter and the booker, but we also have a matchmaker.
Okay.
We also have a meeting 3 weeks before a show.
Okay.
To get the card lined up and to make sure who's going to show up and who's not going to show up. So that's where our leadership starts at the top with Herb Simmons, where when you go in a lot of other locker rooms, they don't run it that way. Herb really, like I said, just book the show, give us his ideas, and we take it from there and we run with it.
All right.
So Herb has had that success for over 50 years running a promotion. You know, you get the right people in place they do want to have so we can all work this out together. You know, and that's one of the key things that I like about us. We have that meeting maybe 3 weeks, maybe a couple of weeks before the matches, and we go over everything.
All right. Cool. So a lot of you guys have probably wrestled at the Chase. So can you tell us about the Chase, your experiences at the Chase?
Actually, none of the guys, including myself, never wrestled at the Chase.
Okay.
Now, I was shown, people thought I was doing wrestling at the Chase, but I was coming out of the Central States, out of Kansas City, with Bob Geiger and them guys, Harley Race and them guys, coming to St. Louis and wrestling at the Chase time slot.
Okay.
And at that time, it was called All-Star Wrestling out of Kansas City with Bob Geiger, Harley Race, Rufus R. Jones, Bulldog Bob Brown, all those cats.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So there's a huge amount of names that come through SICW that we would, as younger guys, would say, yeah, we watch those guys on TV. So could you go through just a list, a short, quick list of the ones that stand out to you that came through SICW?
Well, Tito Santana, Haku, the Barbarian, Barry Windham, Orrin Anderson, Jimmy Cornette, Jimmy Hart, Brian Blair, Rocky Johnson, of course, Cowboy Bob Orton, Dutch Mantell, Manny Fernandez. The list goes on and on.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Yeah, Jim Duggan.
Sergeant
Sorry, Jim, I forgot. Jim Duggan.
Sergeant Slaughter.
Sergeant Slaughter. We had Nikolai Volkov come through there.
Wow. The list goes on.
Just a lot of guys come through with knowledge, and we actually pick their brain. I mean, we talk to them, and Johnny, they look at the monitor. When we come back there, man, they tell us, you know, if you do it this way, That way, you can get a lot more out of it.
Mhm.
First thing I always say, guys, take your time, stop rushing. Watch what you're doing, just pace yourself. And I always tell people that these guys are saying this, and Herb Simmons out in the front entertain the fans, and Herb Simmons don't give them one extra dime to criticize us. He don't know what's going on in the back. He know what's going on in the front. And these guys, once we come back through that curtain, I mean, they all on us. And that's how we learn.
There you go. Can you talk to us about your tag team and your partner, Gary Rogers?
Gil Rogers?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, me and Gil, we never sought out to be a tag team. We just teamed up one time, and when we just kind of gelled together. We both old school mentality. I think one of his favorite wrestlers was wrestling number 2. So our styles was very much the same. And when you do that, I mean, if I have to team up with Gil right now, we wouldn't miss a beat.
Good.
When I say right now, if we had to put on a show right now, me and Gil would never miss a beat because our styles is the same.
Nice. So can you say that's the same with your partner, the Big Texan?
Big Texan?
Yes.
I do all the work, and I let the Big Texan clean house.
There you go.
Pretty simple, straightforward. I let him clean the house.
And I tell you what, I had him on about a month ago, and I bet you let him clean the house. And that boy is a big man. So
Yep.
I can see that. That's awesome, man. Johnny, before I go any further, do you have anything you want to ask?
Yeah. So about the seminars that, especially myself included, that I always get talked to about. I recently, the last seminar I've attended to was Shane Douglas, the franchise. That was in Indiana, and his advice to us was to watch what seminars you go to, because the majority of them are just quick cash grabs from the guys that have already been established, just to do kind of like your research on the guys that you actually want to learn from. And I've always had the mentality, if I'm going to learn from anyone, it's going to be from the people that I grew up watching on TV from the 80s and 90s. I'm 34 years old right now, and I started training when I was 31. And so far, I've been lucky enough to learn from Too Cold Scorpio, Cowboy Bob Orton, Bully Ray, D'Lo Brown, and Shane Douglas, the franchise. And another thing too, like I want to say as well, that's really helped me, if there's anybody that's watching this, is that I was told, and this is gold. To me, this is gold. And he just told us all this for nothing. When you're coming up with your own type of character for wrestling, sprinkle a little bit of your own, not too much, but just a little bit, just enough of your own reality into your character's persona. And then you won't have absolutely no problem trying to come up with anything to try to make a character stand out.
That's great, man. That's great. And speaking of Too Cold, we had him in. Herb has brought in 2 NWA champions, Harley Race, Tommy Rich. We brought Tommy Rich in for a seminar, and Tommy was in there working out with the boys. He was on the sideline talking, but like, hey, I'm gonna get in the ring, I'm gonna show you how to do it. Guys like that, they get in the ring with us. And you're right, there's a lot of guys out there, man. They just there for the money, and that's it. I still look at YouTube. Some of these guys, I like Shane Douglas. I like what he has to say. Al Snow. A lot of these guys, man. I still look at them. And I'm still learning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, true. A couple more questions on with SICW. I almost forgot, and thank you, Big Texan, for bringing this up. Can you talk to us a little bit about Fan Fest this year and next year?
Well, the Fan Fest, when they created it, first time I asked Herb Simmons, Herb, this thing is going to grow like, like weeds. He goes, no, I'm gonna cut it off. I'm like, Herb, this thing is going to grow. So, I mean, everybody in this area, man, they was watching to see what was going to happen, to see if we was going to be a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And that when that thing took a life on its own, we got the thumbs up. And I think next year he's already got about 14 to 15 guys already called and trying to get in on his Fan Fest. So last year, I mean, it was great. We had a great crowd. I mean, just a lot of hard work, genuine people coming up to us, this and that, man. And hopefully this year will be bigger and better.
So next May, they're looking for May 18th. So these fans that are interested, is it in St. Louis? Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. Last year they had last May there was 48 legends that showed up at the SICW Fan Fest. So this year coming up is May 18th. So that's just something for fans of SICW to know. Yeah. So I've met Herb Simmons personally while on the screen like this. So tell us about who Herb Simmons is and to you, and how important he is to the business of professional wrestling.
Well, when I first started with the Mid-Missouri Wrestling Association, which is around here we call it South Broadway Athletic Club, I just was down there training one day, doing my thing, and Herb walked in. I didn't know anything about him. And they like, that guy's, he's a promoter. I'm like, okay. And he's looking around, he's ready to have a show. So he used to bring in guys, like Bruiser Brody, Killer Tim Brooks, Abdullah the Butcher, Nord the Barbarian, or the Berserker, guys like that. And then he would do like a lot of local promoters do, bring in the big names, and then supplement the undercard with the best locals in that area. And he brought me in. Of course, I was in the tag match the first time, but I was just glad to be on that card, And since then, I mean, I've been with him ever since. He's not going to promise you anything. What he tell you is what's going to happen. He don't give you no false hopes or this and that. He just tried to bring you around and make you comfortable by being on this show.
He seemed like a legit guy, man. He seemed really. It was a real cool interview. He seems very humble, and stuff like that. So yeah, great opportunity for sure. So I don't know where I got this name from, but so can you tell us about the nickname Wild One? Does that ring a bell to you?
Wild One?
Yeah, is that no?
That's not me.
I look at Google and see what happens. I have you from New Orleans and you're from from whatever, and Google sucks. I can just
I don't know. I can't remember the show where I was at. Maybe somebody forgot to ask where I was from and just said New Orleans, but I've always came out of St. Louis.
All right, St. Louis. So what's your immediate goals further going forward? How much longer do you have in the business?
If I gave you an answer, it wouldn't be true. I don't know. I guess when I stop having fun, I quit, but I still enjoy it. I'm still healthy. Every now and then, I get a couple of bruises on me, but as long as nothing's broke, I'm able to go down and lift weights and curls and do a little cardio, I'm good to go. So
Yeah.
You know, I have
Um,
I've just always really just stayed positive about this business, even though you have the ups and downs of it sometimes. But for the most part, again, nobody promised me anything, you know. And I've just been working hard ever since I've been in this business.
Awesome, man. So I don't know. I told you that I was a foster parent. We work in an emergency shelter caring for 8 kids in Panhandle of Florida. They all love what Mr. Scott does. Man, you got a podcast today? I said, yeah. So at dinner time they asked me to ask you guys these questions. So if you don't mind, I got probably about 6 questions that came from my kids.
Okay.
And rapid fire. So they, of course, we're eating dinner. What's his favorite food?
Favorite food, I would say, just like majority, a lot of pasta.
Pineapple belong on pizza?
Not for me.
There you go. Favorite TV show?
Seven and Sons.
Love it. Love it. You have a favorite movie?
Oh man, I would say recently looking at Keanu Reeves. Those movies with
Okay.
John Wick.
John Wick, and also I actually like, man, all the ocean movies.
Okay. All right.
You know,
So they one kid asked me today, does he acknowledge the tribal chief?
some yes, as a great wrestler. I mean, great. I mean, I don't know him personally, but I think he's just a super great athlete. I just like him.
And I was kind of telling them a little bit about what SICW was, and Herb Simmons was telling me that you guys love the idea of storylines.
Oh yeah. Well,
And
speaking of the tribal chief, I know he sits at the head of the table, but I always tell people that Herb Simmons sits on top of the table.
There you go. There you go. I'll have to put that on TikTok. That was good. But it's storytelling, because I got to be honest with you, the Bloodline next to NWO storyline had been the best since I've been watching wrestling. How important is storylines to SICW?
They are great. The only difference between SICW and Monday Night Raw and Nitro and all those NXT and all those, they got weekly shows every week. We got weekly shows too every Sunday night, but they can do a lot more with live TV than what we can, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't always look at YouTube or your websites, but they're definitely flip on the television. If we can do that, man, if any group can do that, I mean, you can have the people the way you want them.
Right. And Big Texan, I think, said it right. It brings butts and seats. Storylines bring butts and seats. Yes.
Right.
And back to your vampire days, it says, when I asked you about when you're retiring, Big Texan says vampires don't retire. So you're gonna be a thorn in people's sides even when it's time to quit. So
well, I only got one retirement. And that I retired from the Missouri Air Force National Guard as a Master Sergeant. So
thank you for your service, though. By the way, I forgot to tell you that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Before we close the show, John, do you have any questions you want to ask? I've been taking over. I'm so sorry.
I've got everything asked I wanted to ask.
All right. So, any parting words for the fans of SICW?
Yes.
And end of the Night Train, Gary Jackson.
Night Train play by 4 rules. Rule number 1 is I'm coming to win. Rule number 2 is I refuse to lose. Rule number 3 is I would do my best to beat you. Rule number 4, ladies and gentlemen, is the most important rule of them all. If you know it, say it with me. Don't forget the rules. All aboard the Night Train.
Woo, woo.
Nobody stops a train. That's
Oh,
it.
yeah. So there we go, guys.
That was awesome.
Here's Pop Wrestling Podcast was live tonight with the Night Train, Gary Jackson, Johnny Cass. Here's Pop, Cat Daddy, me. I appreciate your time, Gary Jackson, the Night Train. Thank you for taking the time out of your life. And I gotta say, I'm gonna say this right now. You guys have, and I'll share the story when we get off air. You guys have gotten me able to take an hour away from my day. I've had some bad news, and it allowed me to separate my mind and just gel, you know. And so I thank you for that. I thank you for the time. This meant so much more than even an interview. I'm a pleasure to meet you, Night Train. Hold tight. I'm gonna play an exit song. Don't go anywhere. I'll be down in the bottom. All right.
Okay.
So thank you, Johnny Cass. Hold tight. Extreme.